Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio ZNH 286, Patricia and David, and it's actually quite a good morning, although I am struggling to log into something here, which is why I am 1 minute late. A beautiful morning, actually. It's 15 degrees, 6 knots from the north-northeast, and the barometer, however, is dropping quite significantly, 1004.5. Dropping, and it's about 15% cloud cover. We had an absolutely glorious day yesterday, a miserable day on Saturday, but that was good for doing inside jobs. Yesterday was great for enjoying the weather. It was just calm and sunny all day. Really, really beautiful day in New Zealand. Calm before the storm by the sound of it. We'll see what David's got to say shortly. All right, I'll just do a pause to see if there's anything urgent. Always boring to talk to yourself, but never mind, we'll carry on here and I'll give you a bit of news from the weekend throughout the world. I don't know whether any of you felt the earthquake yesterday up there between Tonga and Fiji. It was an 8.2, but way, way, way below the water level, so nothing much felt, but there was certainly a very big earthquake. It got reported because there's been a couple more earthquakes in Lombok, which is not very welcome for the folk that are there trying to get over the last ones. The death of Kofi Annan has got quite a lot of news this morning in the paper. He was, of course, the UN Secretary General for about 7 years during Helen Clark's time. So he died, I think he was 80. There's been quite a lot of news, and you probably have noticed quite a lot of input of finance into the various parts of the South Pacific from China. It's called the Belt and Road Initiative, and they are basically taking over the world economically rather than doing anything on the military side of things. They now own the main port of Greece, Piraeus, but they have now got a sort of a network of ports throughout the world from China, going through Asia, the Indian subcontinent, Africa, a couple in the States, through to Europe, and they have investments, as you've probably seen, in infrastructure throughout the Pacific. They have got what they call this Belt and Road Initiative. They have got rail lines that are now quite established from China through to Europe. They have got a marine line through around the world. They have a various economic lines that they have drawn. It's there's no mystery about it, but boy, it's developing quite well, and they've got so much money that they are investing in rather major facilities throughout the world, and in some cases they're through loans, which means that countries are sort of tied to them on the long term. Anyway, moving on, quite an interesting article actually about bare feet. In New Zealand, those of you who come will think, boy, there's a lot of poor people around, but in fact children in New Zealand, even in very high socio-economic areas, prefer to have bare feet, running and going to school. And there was an article in the paper about how, in fact, this is actually better for them long term. Evidently, if you run in bare feet, the whole process uses muscles, whereas if you put on your fancy sneakers with a very cushioned heel, you tend to run heel down first, and that puts a lot of pressure on the joints, particularly the knee joints. And I certainly know people who have been marathon runners or mile runners and so on, who now in their 60s have dreadful knees, knee problems, in fact can hardly walk, let alone run. So that's an interesting one. Evidently New Zealand is quite a good place to study, because in most places if you're barefooted with children, it's a socio-economic thing. For example, in South Africa, they're 90% barefooted. Germany, on the other hand, is 100% shoe, whereas in New Zealand it's got absolutely nothing to do with economy. It's a more cultural thing. They call it cultural. I'm not sure I'd use that word, but anyway, it's a cultural thing. Kids just don't like wearing shoes. And so
Feet smell so bad, they're airing them out.
David reckons it's because the feet smell so bad they're airing them out. But anyway, so that was quite interesting to read about. So when you get to New Zealand, you folk that have come from Europe, don't think that these kids are really poor and need some money for shoes. The floods in South India in the state of Kerala are still really, really bad. There's been an incredible amount of rain causing a lot of landslides, of course, and there's now over 340,000 people in relief camps and about 345 dead, I think the figures. If you're going to fall overboard, it looks like you do it in the Adriatic Sea. A woman from the UK fell overboard just off the coast of Croatia, and she was in the water 10 hours. She fell off the Norwegian Star at midnight. I presume she wasn't exactly sober, but anyway, she fell off the ship and was found 10 hours later by the Croatian Coast Guard, swimming away, a little bit tired, but otherwise no problem at all. So that's about it for news. There's never an awful lot of news on a Monday. The papers are full of sport, of course, so nothing much else to report. Still a lot of just rhubarb from the papers in the United States. They're all trying to decide what's news, what's fake news, and so on and so forth. So haven't really taken much notice of what's going on there. All right. Let's have a look at what's going on in your part of the world. The weather at the moment looks not too bad, so it's a shame that there's not much in the future that's, well, it might be. I'm not going to say anything because that's David's job. But anyway, there's not an awful lot of things happening that I've read from the site. I do want to remind you, though, that if you have a weather question for us, please send it directly to us here at Gulf Harbour Radio. There's two separate organisations, two separate websites, in fact. One of them is Gulf Harbour Radio, that's www.ghradio.co.nz, and our email address is ghradio@extra, which is just xtra.co.nz. So if you have a weather question for David, please send it directly to us here. You'll get the report from our home address, Communion House, but just send it direct. A, it will be quicker, and B, it means that Mike, who runs the YIT site, doesn't have to pass it on. If he has to pass it on, A, it could be quite slow because he's got other things to do, and it's a bit of a nuisance. If you have a question related to the YIT site, something that's a problem to you, or you want to know how to do something or whatever, then email him directly with the email address on his website. In fact, I've got both our email addresses on our site as well so that you don't get confused. But it would be a lot quicker if you emailed us directly with the question. Put your boat name in the subject line and preferably the topic so David can find it quickly amongst all the other junk. Well, not that that's junk, but all the junk that comes into one's website despite unsubscribing to 1,000 things. So put your boat name and say Tonga to New Zealand or whatever it happens to be. And don't forget to give your departure time and ETA and all that sort of stuff to show that you have in fact done the job of looking first before you get clarification on something. Just a quick couple of comments from what we have reported today. It looks rather nice up there at Martangi. Good morning to Diego and Marina. It's calm, 25 degrees, sounds rather nice, a little bit of scattered cumulus around. In New Caledonia, and by the way, folks, those particularly who are going there, they do have a very, very major election early November. So there may be a little bit of strife, not saying there will be, but it's a very, very important election for their independence. So just keep mindful of that. Make sure you've got your New Zealand or American or whatever flag flying. I wouldn't suggest that you closely align yourself with the French because there could be in some parts of New Caledonia, there usually is when they have an election like this, a little bit of strife. Anyway, back to New Caledonia, and the reason I mention it is I've just seen Willoughby reporting from Bunda, because they're going to head in that direction. It's nice and calm and only a little bit of cloud there. In fact, the whole South Pacific looks rather good. So there you are. That's about it. I'm going to pause to see if there's anybody wanting anything in particular before we start the weather. And we hear from Kandavu, Taranui. Actually, I wouldn't mind a position report there, Graham, if you've got it. You're pretty light, but go ahead. Over.
Good morning, David. We are on Banga Island, just out from Suva. We're on Banga Island position 1824 now. 17808. Our copy.
Oh, I've got good copy. 1824, you've moved. 17808 east. I'm not sure I know that island. Say the name again, over.
Banga Island. It's a big island just out from Suva, over.
Oh, roger that. Okay, just outside of Suva. So it looks pretty decent weather at the moment, over.
Very light wind, very light breeze. We're heading up the coast today towards Sydney Way, over.
Oh, roger that. Okay, heading down the coast today. I'll pop that in. Alrighty. Well, you heard how lovely it was here yesterday, so all should be well at home. All right. Thank you for that. Good morning to Lynn as well. Alrighty. Is there anybody else before I pass the microphone? And I'm just having a look here. Thank you for the comments on streaming. Diego reports that there's no tsunami after the earthquake, so that's good. And good morning to Margie up there in Worcester. Better reception this morning. That's good. Oh, that reminds me too, folks, to keep reminding you, there has been a bit of problem on this frequency in Fiji. Just keep in mind 8297. If you hear nothing from us, we will be on every day during the week, but if you hear nothing on 8752, we will go to 8297. Sounds rather nice at Muscat Cove. Alrighty then, I'm going to pass the microphone.
Well, good morning, everybody. And Taranui, I don't know if you did anything to the radio, but they were coming in very well this morning. So good morning again, folks. The weekend's over, so let's see what the upper levels are predicting for today. The most noteworthy wave that I can see is just to the east of Oz. A significant shortwave trough it is, with a fair amount of vorticity, plenty of spin, and also plenty of upflow in the mid to lower Tasman, and that's east of Hervey Bay. So as a result, we find a depression in the eastern Tasman, and that's lying just to the west of Fiordland right now. That's the center of the low. It's fairly nasty at 9 or 902, with a series of troughs and fronts that are pushing northward. We're going to be getting some poor weather pretty shortly here. Now there is a prefrontal trough over New Caledonia as we speak, with the cold front that's just behind it. By late today, both of these are going to impact New Caledonia. The trough is there now, with the possibility of a depression forming over the loyalty. It's a very slim chance of getting some cyclonic flow there. But anyhow, Tuesday morning, the frontal band will cross over to Vanuatu, and pretty much as we forecast on Friday, I think. Now, the depression that I mentioned, it's definitely weak. If it develops at all, it's going to slide to the southeast, become more or less absorbed into the frontal band itself. So not much to write home about. And that whole frontal band should arrive Fiji in the Wednesday time frame. And by the time that happens, there isn't much in it, but those in Fiji will certainly experience the wind shifts. You'll have east to east northeast on the eastern side of the axis and south to southeast on the western side. Now this western side flow comes from a weak high that's north of New Zealand at that point in time. So from today right through Wednesday, New Zealand and all the way up to 30 south is going to experience cyclonic wind flow from the complex low pattern that is extending into the deep ocean, Southern Ocean. However, to the north, the islands are going to see fairly slack isobars with an easterly wind flow mostly from the highs that are located off to the east. Now, after the frontal band over Newcastle passes through all of the islands, the next bit of bad weather looks to strike New Caledonia again about a week from now. We're talking about the late Sunday, Monday time frame, a little too far out to pin that down, but that's about when the next one is going to arrive. In fact, this season, we've been getting these frontal bands virtually every week. And that is actually almost normal weather. May not be normal if you compare it to last year and the year before, but if you look at the last 15 years, that's about typical for a depression. Well, anyhow, today for the tropics, satellite imagery shows plenty of activity, like I said, over New Caledonia. Now there's another trough over the Solomons, and they're running down. It's running down to the Santa Cruz Islands. Yet another trough north of Tuvalu goes on to Tokelau, and Niue with the trough just to the north. So there's a bit of activity up the north of the island groups there. Moving to Tonga, imagery shows a band of cloud over the group heading east, though it's there now, but it is moving on the loop. You could see it drifting to the east. So soon, I think the weather is going to be fine. Keep our fingers crossed for Tonga there. There'll be some scattered cloud, of course, and the sun will mostly prevail, although don't be surprised by isolated showers today. Conditions this morning, actuals, Vavau cloudy, south-southeast 5 knots, 24C, and the barometer was 1011, the airport. The Hapai's also cloudy, southeast 12, 20C, cooling off a bit, barometer 1014, and Tongatapu was fine, calm, 16C, barometer 1015. Well, it's been cold. Winds made back to become easterlies by around lunchtime today, and then shifting northeast tomorrow. I think maybe 15 to 20 knots. Now Fiji looks good on imagery, fine weather, plenty of sun. There's some clouds about, I can see them on imagery, but not much going on there. About the same tomorrow, except the frontal band's getting closer, will be getting closer. So the winds are going to start to back to feed the system. So expect northeast breezes, light to moderate today, or about 10 to 15 knots. The band will arrive probably late Tuesday into Wednesday. So far, doesn't look like there's very much in it. The tail end of it pretty much is going to be over the island groups, and the tail end just doesn't look very ferocious at all. Looks rather meager. So that's good news, I suppose, unless you want rain to fill your tanks. By lunch Wednesday, then, the eastern half of Fiji should see east to variable winds and the west side southeast winds in the 15-knot range. And remember higher gusts during showers. Late Wednesday, all the winds are going to shift, I think, to southeasterlies, and that will mark the end of the frontal band. Vanuatu shows scattered cloud with the prefrontal trough just to the west. The trough is going to combine forces with the front and arrive Vanuatu by, I think, midnight tonight. Winds today mostly northeast, feeding the prefrontal trough, and northerly by midnight, and then start to go north-northwest. And by tomorrow, we should see westerly quadrant winds, and this indicates that the axis has passed through. Lunch Tuesday, the winds, I believe, will shift to south or south-southwest, and they're going to pick up, I would say 20 knots or so, and by Wednesday, southeast winds, 15 to 20, so back to the trades. So Newcal, wet Newcal. light air at first, and then the winds are going to pick up to north-northwest, a good 20 knots, gusting 30 knots in the southern lagoon. Rain, 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 that's what I see. Also includes the Loyalty Islands. Now, watch out because I see a westerly shift late today, southwest 20, gusting 30. If you're in the Isles anywhere, be aware of that. You may be able to go to the other side of them and get some protection. The lagoon generally is not a good place to be in these conditions. There are a couple of eels that you can get protection from winds all over the place, but there's going to be quite a bit of wind, so be careful there. Ile de Pan may see stronger winds later today, possibly up to 35 knots out of the southwest. So if you're anchored in the usual spot off the town there, I think you're going to have to move. Call us if you need some ideas as to where to go. Tomorrow the band will have passed through, but still we're going to have some strong southwest winds behind the system, and we very well could see 30 to 35 knots in the southern lagoon. So just watch out. And that's it. That's all I've got for your weather. So if you have any questions or comments, come down.
Okay, and I presume you covered the possible Tonga to, oh no, that's later in the week, Niue, bit of a difficult direction to go. And yes, that system doesn't look very wonderful for people wanting to go west. All right, is there any further clarification needed? Please call. Sometimes I wonder if we're talking to ourselves out there, but you know, it would be nice every now and again if someone would pipe up and actually say that you can hear us wherever you are, because it does get a bit depressing not knowing if there's anybody out there. All right, so it sounds like there is QRM coming from these Chinese stations a few kilohertz up. So it looks like, folk, we might be looking to go down to 8297 in the near future. All right, I'm going to have a look at that myself, but it's you guys that need to hear us, not us, so and we might not hear it down here. So let us know if you're having trouble, but it does look as if we might be needing to move down to 8297. All right, final call. I think there might be someone there. Is there any relay?
Bravo.
Wow, you're booming in. Bravo, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bravo. I just wanted to say good morning to you and let you know that we are hearing you loud and clear in New Caledonia. Over.
Yeah, it's amazing, Adam. It's New Caledonia usually is not very good. Well, this is in previous seasons, and this season absolutely booming in New Caledonia. I don't know about what's going on in the upper atmospheres, but there's something very strange going on. 40 metres and 20 metres has been absolutely useless.
Weather?
Weather? Do you think it's something to do?
No, how is this weather?
Oh, David wants to know how your weather is because it doesn't look very wonderful on the satellite picture, over.
Well, I would say it's not very wonderful. The fact that yesterday was beautiful.
Yeah, I like drizzle and prony. I suppose it's not very encouraging to go walk about, is it? But yeah, it doesn't look as if it's going to improve. In fact, it looks as if it's going the other direction. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, it'll be quite pleasant. So yeah, thank you for coming in and letting us know all is good propagation-wise to you in New Caledonia. All right, well, thanks for that, folks, and we will be back again tomorrow. It looks like we've got a lovely day here again today, so that's good. Do a few more outdoor jobs. I'm actually spring cleaning, believe it or not, because I had the house pressure washed last week, and that means that you have to sort of do things around it to make sure you get the full benefit of the house looking spick and span again. So even though it's only August, these lovely days are sort of encouraging us to think that spring is coming. And certainly the plants think spring is here because the spring flowers are looking really, really good. All right, the frequency's all yours, folks, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody. Trisha and David are clear.